And you kind of touched on it a bit, but what do you think immigration reform or immigration policy should look like? I think this is something even in the recent years, Democrats have kind of gotten confused. You know, Joe Biden ran on like a pathway to citizenship. And then kind of down the line, there was a more conservative bill that he was willing to sign. And politically, obviously, you could kind of understand some of the need, but it's something that a lot of people are wondering where Democrats are at. So I'm curious your opinion on things like a pathway to citizenship for undocumented
Yeah.
immigrants, just overall the reform, what should it look like?
Yeah, look, I talk, my parents are immigrants, my whole family are immigrants, my community is made up of many immigrants, and I talk to them about what what a pathway to them would what it would mean and what it would look like. And I had an uncle that said, Antonio, they could have me jump through a million hoops and 500 hurdles, and I will do it. I just need to know what it is. Do they want me to pay $5,000 a year for 10 years? I'll do it. Do they need me to do 100 jumping jacks a year? I'll do it. He's just like, but what I want to know is that there is a path to get there. That after I do everything you ask of me, I can become a citizen in this country. So for them, the fines, the taxes they have to pay, things like that. They'll work through it. Now, you know, the immigrant community is a very thoughtful and resilient one. He was just like, the Republicans want me to pay $10,000 as a fine and then pay an extra 3% in taxes for the next 10 years, and then I can be a citizen. I will do that. He was not afraid of how complicated it was to get there. He just wanted to know that he can get there. And right now, there is no path. Right now, there's no way outside of time, and definitely not under Donald Trump, in which they can become citizens. So the first thing I want to say is that we should have a path to citizenship that is clear, and that gives people a clear way of understanding on how they can get there. And then we negotiate what the paths or the hoops that they want people to jump through there afterwards. But as long as it's clear is the first thing. But we need to get there. This country has millions of people that are undocumented that are already contributing to the greater good of America that we should bring out of the shadows and into and support them. I was supported by when I was young, my parents got here and they were supported by New York City and by the federal government. And in one generation, their kid is running for Congress. Like, this is what the American dream is supposed to be about. You work hard, you can make it. So why not reward people that have worked hard in this country, have contributed greatly, and show them that like it should be a model of what they want to show the world is like, yes, you can come from another country with absolutely nothing, and you work hard here and you make it. Why not use them as poster children for what America truly is? So yeah, I do believe in a path to citizenship, no matter how complicated, but we need to find one so that people have a clear understanding on how they can get to where they need to go.
I think another thing on kind of the forefront of everyone's mind is affordability, especially as the Trump agenda is kind of largely failing the middle class. What do you think the pillars for any affordability agenda should be? And then how would you plan to deliver on those, whether it be healthcare,
Yeah.
housing, those things?
Yeah, so it's a lot of things, you know, but I want to focus on housing. I think if we just figure out the housing front, which is a very complicated thing to do, we can alleviate a lot of the affordability concerns that we have in this country. Since the Fairclough Amendment was passed in 1996, Brandon, we haven't built any new housing in this country. We've completely put both hands behind our back at the federal government to be able to address this crisis. During the Great Depression and FDR's New Deal, he built a ton of new housing. It was a crisis, and it was a crisis level moment met with a crisis level action, right? Like, we reacted appropriately.
Mhm.
Right now, we're in crisis and an affordability crisis, and this government can't even help us because they can't build affordable housing. They can't build NYCHA. We don't see Mitchell Lamas being built anymore. We don't see 202 housing that got cut under Bush. And 202 housing was how we were building senior housing in this country. So all these things, Section 8 has been frozen and hasn't been expanded in generations. So we have all these levers that existed at a time that we can pull in case of emergency that just don't exist anymore. So I think that what we need to do is make the federal government a player in housing development and housing assistance again. And the first thing we need to do is repeal the Fairclough Amendment. And if we do that, then we can build NYCHA, which we would now consider social housing, right? NYCHA with like a lockbox system for repairs and maintenance that can't, you can't let the Chromos of the world take money out of NYCHA to build a JFK or Moynihan train station. Like, that's not what you do. we could have a lockbox by which that money is never touched unless it's for maintenance and repair of the NYCHA type development. So the first thing I would do is just open up and give us a shot to be partners with cities and states in building and maintaining and expanding affordable housing.
Yeah, and so how important to your campaign is labor unions, and then what sort of policies like the PRO Act or others would you implement in
Yes.
Congress or support to kind of give them the protections and power they need?
Absolutely. The PRO Act is deeply important. I started my career organizing childcare providers who in that time were looked at as like glorified babysitters. And we saw them as like early childhood legislators, early childhood educators, not legislators. Some of them did become legislators, but early childhood educators. And I worked with the UFT on the ACORN in that time, or NYCC. And we worked together. And in a couple of years, after a ton of hard work and amazing organizing, they became a part of the UFT. And now we're seeing this push to universal childcare. And guess who's going to be the most important part of that is all these childcare providers that we were able to make a part of the UFT union are now going to be the people that are going to save us in being able to make that happen. So, and my mom is an 1199 member, has been a home health aide her entire life. Unions are the quintessential and foundational piece to moving into the middle class in this country. And we've lost that because we've been attacking unions left and right. This right to work legislation that is a farce and makes it so that you get the benefits of having a union and it being able to fight for you and get you all the dignified wages and health insurance and so forth, but not have to pay into it is absolutely absurd. So right now, I'm the campaign with the most union support. HTC, 32BJ, Unite Here Local 100, RWDSU, Local 237. We have all these unions that have come on board that are supporting this campaign because they know the work I've done. Whether I was getting arrested in JFK with 32BJ, whether I was in a room negotiating contracts with RWDSU and the folks in Barnes and Nobles. Like those are the fights that I've had. I've been in the front lines. And because they know that I'm a fighter, they know that I've been there for them, they've supported me. So I'm deeply grateful for it. And I'm going to be, union work is going to be a foundational principle of this campaign, but it's always been a foundational principle of who I am as well.
And then the last sort of policy question I had for you was on healthcare. I saw on your website that you support universal healthcare, which is obviously a great thing. I think within those who do, there's obviously the disagreement of like public option, single payer, that thing. So then where do you fall, or is that less important to you as just making sure everyone?
No. Yeah, Brandon, I would love to. I want to make this a conversation because I think a lot of people, it's just like everything is so black and white right now. It's either you're in or you're out, you're with us or you're not. And it's just, I don't think that that's like what people want. I think people want progress. I remember talking to this woman that when we talk about NYCHA, there's something called RAD Pact. And RAD is something that is like on a policy side, not something that I necessarily support at all. I think the trust is the better place to go for NYCHA residents. But I had this like 70-year-old lady who came up to me, had a RAD, went through the RAD program. I had her apartment upgraded. And she saw me fighting against it. And she loves me. This is somebody that knows me from my fights. And she said, Antonio, I just wanted to say something. That like while you fight for better policies so that we can get what we need, but I got like maybe 10 years on this world. And I want to live in dignified housing. And right now, I got a nice apartment. If it would have said no, I would have kept living in mold infested, disrepaired housing. So I want you guys to fight for good policy, but I also don't want you to lose sight of the fact that people are struggling while you guys are fighting. And that really resonated with me because it means that I want to get Medicare for all. I want to have a universal healthcare system in our country. And I believe that healthcare is a human right. But the realities of the politics in Donald Trump and Republicans and half-assed Democrats is that we're a ways away from getting there, right? And what I want to do though right now is that Ms. Johnson that just talked to me has her health insurance, that she's not, not paying premiums, that she's taken care of, and that we expand access to that to as many people as possible, as many times as possible, so that we make incremental progress on our way to radical reform, right? And that we don't just stifle progress while we keep fighting and all these people are losing. So is there a single payer option that might work? Is there other options that might work? Maybe. But if it expands healthcare to anybody, it's something I have to and would consider on my path to universal healthcare system, right? So I want to keep fighting there. I'll be doing that work. I'll be marching. I'll be signing on to legislation. I'll be convincing people and persuading my colleagues to get there. But in the meantime, any opportunity to expand access to healthcare to a good group of people, I want to make sure that I participate in helping doing that.
Yeah, and I want to end with this question, just kind of looking at your primary. You're obviously running in a pretty stacked field of Democrats, some overlapping views, I'm sure some differing ones as well.
Yeah.
What separates you from the pack and do you think makes you the right candidate in 2026?
Yeah. I think it's my history, right? Like I've been a progressive champion fighting against, first I fought against the county party. I wanted to be a part of the Democratic Party because Barack Obama was like, Antonio, you got to join the Democratic Party. He didn't say Antonio. He kind of told it to the United States of America. But when he said it, I felt like he was talking to me. So I went to join the Democratic Party and was told by the party boss that they didn't want me. So what did we do? We started New Kings Democrats, an organization that's fought against the county party its entire time. When I passed police reform in the city council, I was met by Bill de Blasio and Melissa Margarito kind of pushing back against wanting to make that happen. And I discharged that petition. I discharged it. I was the first discharge in the city council in which I pushed back against allies of mine. I love Melissa. Bill de Blasio was doing great work with us. And it didn't matter if you were my allies. I didn't want to stop the progress and the reform that were happening on police reform. And I did it. And I was considered politically dead countless times because of my progressive positions and my fight against power. I fought against Eric Adams tried to shut down 6 daycare centers in Brooklyn. And I stood up against it, and we got all 6 centers are still open because of the fight that we've had. And that history shows people who I am and what I've done and what I would continue to do. There's no need to say Antonio would be a great elected official. Antonio might show up for this. He might show up for that fight. I'm going to show up for the same fights I've had before. I'm going to show up the same way. And I just think that my experience, I'm the only one that has spent, a decade and more doing this work. And that decade has made it so that it's reinforced my fighting attitude, reinforced that when it's time to get arrested, when it's time to fight, that I'm going to be there. So I hope people see that, the policies between me and the other candidates are going to be, it's going to be hard for you to find a lot of daylight. We kind of all agree on the basic sense of like what type of representative this district needs on a policy side, but on a history side and who's done the work already and is going to continue to do that work. I'm the candidate with the experience. So I'm hoping that is what makes a difference.
Yeah, and then just quickly, if you want to give your website or where people could follow you on social media, any events, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Reynoso for Congress is my website, reynosoforcongress.com, or Reynoso Brooklyn on Instagram and Twitter. You just put Antonio Reynoso and you'll find me one way or another. Please get in, see the information, see how the campaign is doing, and always want to make it so that it's access to me. So if you want to ask me a question or there's some concerns you have or you want to support the campaign, please hit me up. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, and as I always like to say, I have the website. It will be in the description for anyone who does want to check out more of your campaign. I want to thank you again for a wonderful conversation. And maybe as the primary progresses, which I wish you best of luck in, we could have you back on again.
Yeah. Let's make it happen. I love this, Brandon. I want to keep talking and keep building. And also, if there's any new concerns or questions that you might be hearing from the community, if I could come back and speak to that, would love it. This was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot, Brandon. And get better, all right?
I will try to. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend, my friend.
All right. Spread love, brother. Take care.